Good afternoon. There's something new that I've learned with PSP candles and how to enter on and after the PSP candle has formed in the day 2025 mentorship. And I'm going to show you what I saw today on EUROUSD versus Great British Pound USD. All right, so first off, we have here, we have Thursday's price action here. And we have Tuesday's price action here, and today being Wednesday, we did FOMC. So if we mark out first, the first SMT that I found was that we have yesterday's low, and if you compare that versus Euro USD, yesterday's low, that was about here. All right, so day versus day sequential SMT is called Weekly Cycle Sequential SMT. And how you validate that is on the 1 hour time frame. All right, so at this moment between Tuesday and Wednesday on this candle here, on that candle there, okay, so on this candle here, this became confirmed as a weekly cycle sequential SMT. That's a bullish sequential SMT. So you're comparing this low versus the respective candle that hit it is right here. So even though this low was taken, this low here wasn't taken. Even if this one was taken, it is still a sequential SMT from this moment on. Now, at this moment, there was a bullish pullback, and I'm going to show you possible entries after you see that. So if we drop down in the 5-minute, what we're looking for is what's called a balanced fair value gap. And you can find this on any time frame really. So at this point, the 1 hour candle closed. Let's see. So the 1 hour closed right here. Let's just mark that. So the 1 hour closed on this candle's closure. Okay. Now, what we're going to look for is a balanced fair value gap. This is an example of a balanced fair value gap right here. And what it is a fair value gap on both sides. So basically, to refine it, you would actually have it looking like this. Okay, so we have a FEG on the right side, FEG on the left side, and then this becomes validation that the candle's state of delivery has changed, and what we're doing is we're looking for entry. So it doesn't have to be on the 5-minute. We could drop down and refine this to see on the 2-minute. Let's just see if we find a better entry. Okay, so we have a fair value gap here. This isn't really a balanced fair value gap from what I see. I still would consider this to be the balanced fair value gap. This is what I would consider for possible entry. And you're seeing PSP candles validating this as well. So what you would do is you would mark out these PSP candles and treat them like order blocks for entry. Make this a little darker here. Okay, so now you're looking for entry, and we can kind of see how price reacted to it. Price came back and got into it. Now what would you use for a stop loss? In this case, potentially the stop loss could be large. So we could imagine that potentially this could be our stop loss. And what you could measure here is kind of like a one-to-one. So if we're purchasing maybe at the 50 point or 50% range of this PSP area, which would be right here, and being one-to-one, we could have a stop loss coming down right here. And then we would look for the one-to-one, which would get us right here, and you would have taken profit. Now, today got a little tricky. Now, I mean, yes, taking the trade, getting one-to-one profit, that's great. Also, you could refine it. You're seeing, again, more balanced fair value gaps forming. I see one form here. So this downturn formed a PSP candle here, indicated with the purple arrows. And you could argue that this is a balanced fair value gap between those items. And potentially you could purchase in this order block or in this PSP here. And we could mark that out and see if potentially we revisited it later and see, okay, well, what kind of entries could we have done from that balanced fair value gap and the PSP hit? And we're going to treat it kind of like an order block that that price should repel away from. And we had somewhat that. Now, this PSP candle, potentially what I could do is measure one-to-one here and kind of use this as my stop loss. And we'll just mark that here. And we'll enter the 50%. It looks like it didn't really hit the 50% of that PSP candle until it broke through. And that's okay, right? Not every trade is a winner. And at this point, we could be looking for if there were any bearish SSMTs, and that's fine too. Potentially that could have not or prevented us from getting into the trade. Now, what happened later on in the day is that we had a daily cycle SSMT, and now when you have a weekly cycle and then following with a lower time frame, that's called two-stage SSMT. So let's just clean this up a little bit. Okay. All right, so we had originally our first stage, which is our weekly SSMT, which is right here. I deleted that one, so I didn't really want to. So we have our weekly cycle SSMT. Okay. And then if we drop down into the 15-minute time frame, looking for our daily cycle sequential SMTs, we can go right here, and we're going to notice that if you mark the low of New York session for Euro and GBP, that's going to be here, and the respective low for GBP will be right here. And you'll notice that it got close to it, but it didn't take it. It's indicating that GBP was the better asset to trade at that point. Now you got validation of this. So let's just look at this. Now it first closed a 15-minute here. So basically this is the bullish sequential SSMT, but you don't want to just enter right away. What you want to do is you need to look for what's called CSD, and I believe that stands for candle state of delivery or change in state of delivery. So we want to see a change in state of delivery, and that's what those BPRs are for. So the balanced fair value gap, which is a balanced price range, This is one right here. So it's a two-sided FEG. And so this is one, but again, we don't need to be stuck to this time frame. We could drop down into lower time frames, such as the 5-minute. Okay, and what day says wicks are gaps. Potentially at this point, I'm seeing 5-minute PSP candles. These are validating the change, or potentially the order blocks that would be used to confirm or to let price repel from. So what do we see here? So we already got our two-stage sequential SMT. You got your weekly, you got your daily. Now, while we're down here, let's see what we get. So we have one thing that I noticed down here is we have hidden SSMT. Now, potentially this could be on maybe the microcycles, I'm not sure. But one thing I noticed down here is we had a 2-minute hidden SMT, which means that the candle bodies are lower and close lower. So what you see here is right here. So if I just mark out the candle bodies, we have a slight variation. If you look at GBP, and I'm going to mark this as hidden SMT, and Euro, it just slightly went down, or maybe it's flat, and that shows a difference, right? It shows a willingness to go up, and it's stronger for GBP. So what you see here on GBP, we see once again, we see balanced FEGs being formed. Okay, you see that. You see potentially you could have entered there and it would have been a great entry. This is after weekly sequential SMT, after daily sequential SMT. We see another hidden SMT, and we're just finding that price is changing direction. It is forming the balanced fair value gap, or the balanced price range, and that's giving you the idea or the validation that you can just go ahead and start entering into your trade. And I get that question a lot, like, okay, PSP candles are great, price changes, but where do I enter? How do I enter? It's not great to just blindly purchase the PSP candle. I have done that quite a bit, and it's been successful sometimes, and it's been very not successful a lot of times. Now, one thing that will prevent that is looking for what's called CSD, which is the change of state of delivery, and you're going to see that, and that's something I've learned in this 2025 mentorship. You're going to see that with balanced FVGs being formed, and look for entries. Look for entries into maybe the order block. This could be a confirmed order block. Okay. You could enter the 50% range of this balanced FVG. Okay. And then what's your stop? Potentially you could put a Fibonacci on this order block. We could say, okay, well, my stop loss is going to be 1-to-1. My stop loss is here. My entry is somewhere in this balanced FEG. Okay, we have multiple PSP candles that could be buyable. You could treat this as this right here is a bullish fair value gap and also a PSP candle. I highly suggest to know which is the stronger asset, which is the asset to get into. So we saw that EUROUSD kept taking lower lows, right? It took yesterday's low, it took the New York session low, and each time GBP was not taking yesterday's low and not taking New York session low, and also forming the higher low in the candle body sequential SMT. So the hidden sequential SMT. So hidden SMT, and I'm just going to open up the microcycles real quick just to confirm if that was a, yeah, it was. So this is a this is a sequential SMT with the lows here in this microcycle Q1 and microcycle Q2. So in the microcycle Q2, we're getting lows down here, right? And in the microcycle Q2 here, this is actually where you would want to have it. So this is where it becomes a sequential hidden SMT, and this is the Q1, Q2. So yes, this is a confirmed sequential SMT. So basically we have three stages. We have our weekly, our daily, and now we're coming into a microcycle SMT. So really you only need two cracks in correlation to have probability on your side. So we already had, and we had even more than that, right? So what we have is quite a bit. So this is just like an A plus trade. We have our weekly, our daily. Now we have a microcycle SSMT. It's basically just screaming like, hey, enter. It's also screaming to enter Great British Pound. And now you just find your entries. And this is where the experience of ICT teachings give you those entries. Where is the entry? In the order block? Sure. In the bullish fair value gap? Great. In a inverted fair value gap? Awesome. Do it, right? So here's an inverted fair value gap. You could have entered here. You could have entered in the balanced FVG. You could have entered in the PSP candle. You could have entered in so many places. You could have entered in anywhere in this entire order block. So basically, after this hidden sequential SMT happened and price is moving away and closing above here, you have about 5 minutes for entry. And then what happened after that? Price just ran. This is FOMC day. So basically, there were even bullish signs yesterday that FOMC would come out to be bullish today. In the index futures, there was two-stage sequential SMT. We had weekly cycle SSMT yesterday because YM didn't take Monday's low while NQ did and ES did. Also, in the afternoon, YM took the New York session low while NQ didn't. So that was two-stage sequential SMT, giving a sign that FOMC is going to come out bullish. So today, all day, that's all I was looking for is, okay, what are the bullish signs for entry? So to find entries, you're going to look for sequential SMT. And then if you want to make it better, look for two-stage sequential SMT. And if you want to make it better beyond that, you need to look for change in state of delivery. And you do that by finding where balanced FVGs happen. And balanced FVGs will happen after you see sequential SMT. So it grabs liquidity, it reverses off that liquidity, it forms a balanced fair value gap, and then look for entry. This is going to cut down so much on your losers. This is going to give you proper stop losses. This is going to prevent you from entering too fast into your trades. This is helping me quite a bit. This is something I learned from one of the admins in the 2025 Quarterly Theory Day mentorship from Medic. He's got a lot of videos for Quarterly Theory clinics, and if you guys are part of 2025 mentorships, I highly recommend you watch his videos. They're awesome. They're worth their weight in gold. So let me know if you have any questions. If you need the PSP indicator, I have that shared on my X account. Look in my highlights tab and leave a comment if you have any questions, and give me ideas on what the next video should be, what you'd like to learn about, and I hope this helped. Thanks and have a good one.